In this video, we're going to showcase 5 custom racks that were made without welding, and that's because they were made with off-the-shelf electrical conduit and fittings that we manufacture for building things with EMT conduit. And these were all shared over the last few months in our community, and wanted to do a roundup and kind of highlight some different techniques and ideas in case you're wanting to build a rack for conduit or out of conduit for yourself. And we're just going to go through and kind of highlight the different things that the builders have shared. We really appreciate everybody posting their builds as always. These are all really fantastic. This first one is from Barry, and he made his roof rack out of 3/4 inch electrical conduit, as we can see here, and it's made to elevate some kayaks above the truck bed so he can utilize the lower space in the bed for hauling things for camping, hauling his kayak gear, and I guess those are canoes, not technically kayaks, but same kind of idea. If you want to make a kayak rack, we've seen that. It's a pretty common reason that people use conduit and connectors for roof racks, and kind of to make the kayak hauling and storage easier. This is really cool, kind of just 4 verticals going up, and kind of using the common connectors that we see for this kind of project. And definitely check out the links that Barry shared. He did a full video and a blog post about this that are awesome. Great resources if you're looking to build something similar, so check those out. But essentially, we just got 4 verticals, as I was mentioning, just kind of one in each corner. And then Barry used the MakerPipe 90-degree connector, which works really well for this kind of a project where you're making a cube, because it allows you to join 3 pieces of conduit together. So you've got that vertical there, but then you've got the pieces of conduit that go from side to side, and then the piece of conduit that goes from the front. And this one extends all the way out to the front here. And you don't have to do any welding with MakerPipe and conduit. You can use a handheld tubing cutter to cut conduit, and then you can use a 5mm hex wrench to put together connections. And they're just clamp friction based, so you don't have to do any welding, use any power tools, which is really awesome for projects like this. Makes this kind of a thing really approachable and something that anybody could do. And just like I said, 90-degree connectors there in the corners, and then there's a ton of other connectors used. We've got T connectors, we've got ton of T connectors really. We've got 180-degree connectors. It's got some angle supports with the adjustable angle connectors, and just a really great reinforced frame. I'll probably mention this a few times in this video, but of course, with anything that's moving down the road, we want you guys to be super careful when you're using conduit and connectors. You know, if you're afraid it's going to vibrate loose, we've had people address that and say that it's done pretty well, and they haven't really had to worry about that. We've seen people that made a roof rack in an interview that we actually did for a ProMaster van that was going all over the country, and he said he traveled all over the country and didn't have any vibrate loose. And it's the way the connectors are designed. They kind of clamp together and they kind of spring back, and so we think that is what attributes to them not backing out. But of course, adding self-tapping screws, using Loctite, different things like that is really important. And kind of do your own testing to make sure it's going to be right for your build and for your project if it's going to be moving down the road. First and foremost, we want you guys to be safe, and especially if you're moving down the road. So just keep that in mind. But a ton of bracing in there, so that helps a lot with that and kind of supports the canoes up there. So that's really cool. And we'll kind of go through and look at the other photos that we can see here, which are pretty good shots of the frame. Again, we can see all the different connectors being used. And then this next photo, I think we can actually see, or one of these next photos, here we go. We can see how this is mounted. And this is really creative. Essentially just has the brackets on the side of the truck bed, and is using some turnbuckles with the MakerPipe puzzle piece clamp just to kind of pull this tight and secure it to the bed, which is really smart. Doesn't have to do any modifications to the bed itself, just utilizing those brackets that are already there. And here we can see a model that he put together. But that mount kind of utilizes the brackets that are already there and kind of creates this so he can take this out really easily just by undoing those turnbuckles, can take this rack out and store it whenever he's not going on a canoeing trip or a camping trip, and then he can put it back in whenever he needs to haul things to the water. So really creative, just a really awesome job. And like I said, check out the resources that he made that share all kinds of information, and just really awesome. So thanks so much, Barry, for sharing this. Next up is a build that actually has another video that goes with it that Levi put together. This is a mini truck rack that he put together. I love these mini trucks. Seems like they're getting more and more popular, and it's really cool to see people use them for different things, and actually see people use EMT conduit and MakerPipe with them to be able to haul stuff. And this one it was actually built so that Levi could kind of turn this into a miniature flower shop that can be set up and hauled, and the flowers can be hauled to different ships shows, different markets and whatnot, and be able to used and closed up, as we can see here, and then it flips open and becomes like a display for the flowers. So really cool. Definitely check out his full build video, but we can highlight a couple of things here. Like I said, 90-degree connectors work really well for making cubes. That's what he used here. And then at the bottom of the base, we can't see in the pictures, but in the video you'll see that he used the maker pipe flanges to bolt this to the bed, which is a great option if you don't mind, adding holes in your truck beds. That's really cool and a really good way to do that. We can see here he combined the frame with wood to make these hinging panels that fold up, as we can see here, and then that wood is kind of supported by a skeleton that's made with EMT conduit and connectors, and then it hinges up and out of the way and then folds down, as we can see here. And I don't know if we see exactly how he's doing the hinging panels. I'm pretty sure he's just utilizing the maker pipe T connectors, just grabbed on. Yeah, it looks like just the maker pipe connectors. Those are friction based, as I mentioned. So, you can, if you have something heavy on them, you can kind of force them to rotate. And so that works pretty well for this to kind of keep it in place and rotate it down. And then he adds those kind of kickstands that fold up and support it, as we can see there. I don't know if those are necessary all the time. It looks like they are, just to kind of support the panels. So that's always good. He also spray painted the frame, which is a good idea if you want to customize this even further. But just a really awesome project. Really appreciate you sharing this, Levi. Next up is a bed rack that was shared by Michael, and this is made specifically for a Retrax bed cover, which I think are pretty common, and it can be kind of hard to utilize racks or find racks that are made specifically for this kind of bed, which is why Michael custom fabricated this one. And he's got a lot of custom made components in this. He actually used 3D printed mounts that he made and custom designed. Even for the very top up there, we can see he created mounts with those. And this is one of those that he actually did some testing. Of course, 3D printed is plastic, so you definitely want to be careful if you're using plastic accessories and things for your builds, especially something like this that's moving down the road. But he actually did some testing here, as we can see, just to see how well they would hold up. And so he's got some heavy bowling balls in there that he's testing, and he said it works out pretty well. And so we can see here he's pretty much just made those custom mounts that attach to that style of bed cover, just kind of goes around the channel there, as you can see, and then just creates a vertical mounting post for the EMT conduit. Then he added some bends in the frame using a handheld tubing bender. That's a really great tool for this kind of a build because you can really customize it and add a lot of cool functionality, and it just looks awesome. We'll highlight another build soon later in the video that actually utilizes a bender as well. But this is really cool. We can see he's using the adjustable 180 in the middle there to add the angled bracing, the adjustable angle hinge on the sides here, and just incorporating all kinds of cool stuff in this. A lot of angles, a lot of support, which again, something that is always necessary if you're building any kind of project, but especially something that's moving down the road. And I think he's got a link to his 3D printed parts, so you can test those out for yourself and see if they'll work for you. And I imagine it's probably okay for light duty applications, but of course, like I said, you just want to test for yourself, make sure this stuff works well for you and is going to be safe going down the road. But really cool, Michael. Really appreciate you posting this. Thanks for sharing the links to the different 3D printed accessories that you made. Really awesome job, and love seeing it. So thanks so much. Next up is a truck rack that comes from Brian, and this is much smaller, just made to be right behind the window of the truck here. And this also has a bed cover, as we can see, but this kind of sits over top of the bed cover, and this one also utilizes the maker pipe flange down here, which is bolted directly to the bed rail. And then it's pretty much just a rectangular frame made with a combination of T connectors and some off-the-shelf fittings. So essentially just the maker pipe T connectors in the corners, just to kind of create this two-dimensional rectangle that mounts to the vertical, one in each corner. And then we've got the stub coming up with another T connector grabbing onto that, and that's the conduit that's going down to the bed rail. Then we can see some maker pipe T connectors adding these long horizontal spans from one side to the other, and those are actually what's supporting the coolers there, so that's really awesome. And then we can see here there's more T connectors being used to add these two-dimensional rectangles that are kind of creating these supports to keep the coolers from rotating back. So that's awesome as well. We can see some off-the-shelf 90-degree fittings being used in the corner there. We can see some of the off-the-shelf electrical hanger straps being used there, and that's what this chain is connected to, going through the coolers to kind of secure that. That's a really inexpensive and good way to create that kind of a support and kind of a stop. We can see here there's more T connectors with a piece kind of going to the back just to kind of frame in these coolers. So it's kind of a smaller build, but a lot of cool stuff incorporated into this, and it has a lot of functionality, as we can see here. And we'll kind of go back and look at these other photos. There's one there kind of from the front. and then there's one overhead, and we can see this is made specifically for these coolers to fit in there and kind of slot in place. And I imagine they'll slide around a little bit, but they got the chain in there, and then they've got the the rest of the frame built with conduit just to kind of hold that in place and keep it from sliding around too much. So that's really cool. Like I said, small build, but a lot of stuff packed into it, and it's just really awesome. So I really appreciate you sharing this, Brian. Awesome job. Last but not least is a really cool one from Blanco. This was shared a while back in the MakerPipe Facebook group. If you didn't know, we have a Facebook group. I'll link his post in the description, and while you're there, you can join the group if you want to see more builds or post your own. Really appreciate it. But this is really cool, and I like this one because he made this custom bracket that sits in between the bed rail and this bed topper that he has here. And this allows him to essentially have this piece that sticks off of the side of the bed, and that's what the EMT conduit is going over top of. So we can see there, looks like there's some kind of welded stub sticking up, and then there's a hole drilled in the EMT conduit so he can add those pins to make this kind of a quick release and make it easy to take on and off. So that's really cool. And this is made entirely with 1-inch EMT conduit and our fittings for 1-inch EMT. And this is really cool. Just a lot of awesome stuff incorporated into this. This is the build I was mentioning that has a lot of bends incorporated into it, as we can see. Kind of has that slight bend there. It then goes up and bends all the way over. And then from there, he's just got some MakerPipe T connectors grabbing on to add that bar to the front. MakerPipe 45-degree connectors up here as well to add that angled bracing, another support bar to the other side. And then here what's really cool is he's actually utilizing another common material, which is Unistrut. And there's a strap that bolts Unistrut to EMT conduit, and it's meant to be used for electrical stuff, of course, but it works really well for this kind of application, and you can expand the use of your MakerPipe build and kind of open up the possibilities because you can utilize all of the different accessories and awesome things that they make for using with Unistrut. So that's really cool and really awesome idea. I haven't seen that too much, so that's just really awesome. Really appreciate him sharing that. This is a really great roof rack and just a lot of cool stuff incorporated into it. Love seeing that custom mount. And if you have the ability to create custom mounts like that, if you have a CNC or someone that that can fabricate things, that's a really good thing to have and utilize in your builds. So really awesome. I can see this being used for all kinds of stuff. It's over top of the bed topper, so it'd be really useful for adding and storing stuff if you're going camping or, kayaks, whatever it might be up there. So just really awesome job, Blanco. And really awesome job to everybody. Thanks so much for sharing your builds. As always, we love seeing them, and these will be linked down below if you want to check any of them out in more detail. Really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next one.